Welcome back, everyone, to episode 2 of The Drunk GM.
Look at us being all consistent and everything.
I know. Isn't it wild?
And I want to thank both of the people who watched the first one. That was great of them. Really enjoy that. Uh, I'm pretty sure my wife was not one of them, and I'm beginning to suspect yours was not either. So
No, probably not. I think she has to listen to me talk enough about role-playing games.
I know, mine too. Mine too is like, oh, okay, it's time. Oh
No,
well.
but it's been great. Thank you for everyone that did check it out. And
Yeah.
last time I checked it, it was doing okay. It's definitely
Yeah.
gotten some hits. I didn't look at how many thumbs up we have.
All of them. We have all the thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm prone to, I'll take it really critically. So if you guys could just give us a little love,
Yeah.
I'll sleep better at night.
Yep. And the usual, if you love us, definitely do the like button, but also do the share, because that's, how these kinds of things spread. So we
Yep.
appreciate it.
And subscribe to the channel because there's lots of content coming out from other, good shows.
Yeah, we're doing a lot actually. I was just on the Swadecast the other day. I don't even remember when it was, but that was pretty fun. I have no memory of what it was we talked about, but it was important and changed my life. So,
Yeah, it's been a wild ride.
it has launching this whole thing.
Yeah. All right. So we're back here for our second time, and keeping with the beginnings of role-playing games, I think we're going to be talking about something that everybody does before they start playing.
Creating characters.
Yeah, and it can be honestly the best part of being a gamer. I think at some points, I remember being younger and just making characters over and over and just piles. And it was a very crunchy game, which allows it to be a lot more pleasurable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it was great. It was such a good time.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. The downside for me is I get super attached to like the character concept. And for me, when I'm creating characters, it's very much about like I can imagine, maybe it's because I'm a writer, but I kind of wonder if it's like this for everybody. But like, I can literally like imagine this character and what she's like or he's like, and it's pretty intense to get sort of like attached to the idea of like what's this person going to be like and how are they going to react to various situations. So for me, the concept of the character, of what kind of person they are, what type of person they are, how they react to different stresses and situations, are they funny, are they serious, are they mean, are they kind, are sort of the most important things to me when I'm creating character. I don't know. How, are you more focused on the mechanics of the character, or the archetype or persona?
It depends on the game. So more recently, I've been playing, mostly Savage Worlds and some of the narrative stuff. So I focus a lot more on the person behind the character because it
Mm-hmm.
just makes it a lot more fun for those kinds of games.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was younger, I played like a lot of Shadowrun, which is big number crunching. How
Mm-hmm.
much cybernetics and guns and stuff can you buy? And I don't think any of our characters ever had a personality.
Right, right.
But that's also it's so great, and it's a very different thing. I don't know if I'd enjoy it as much now. But
Because
well, it's a lot of math.
uh-huh.
Now it's been a while. And back then I was like still in high school doing high school level math. Like that was okay.
Right, right. How do you do percentages again?
Yeah. It's
Fractions. I'm not for it. I'm against it.
so
Definitely against it.
yeah, I think it really depends on the system. Can depend on how you want to build a character. Um, but I'd say most of my characters now I'm building based on their personality and trying to come up with a good, I guess, just making them feel as real as possible.
Yeah. Even if it's ridiculous. Like, you and I are preparing to play in a new Savage Worlds game. And I think the character concepts that we've come up with are pretty crazy, honestly. Um, I don't know, are we allowed to talk about it?
I don't know.
I think we are.
Well,
See, well, just spoiler alert, Bobby, insert hatchets here. Um, or is it that we don't want Bobby to know?
oh no, I haven't told him yet, but no, it's all right. He probably doesn't listen to these anyways when he
Right.
edits.
Yeah. So, so for those of you who don't know, we've been involved in a couple of actual plays, and we're getting ready to do another actual play. We all love Savage Worlds, and so we're going to be doing, it's called Savage Adventures. And we're going to be be playing in various settings. And so the idea was that our characters could basically come from any timeline. So we took this literally, and we all chose pretty significantly different timelines. And so, like, my character is going to be from the 1950s. I forget your character is what again?
Well, I don't know the year because it's a totally different timeline. There was no they never made it past like it's fucking, you're gonna have to be like the Bronze Age or the Iron Age because they need like cool swords, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, he's still like a gladiator, like Conan-esque. Like I imagine they're all huge because they had to adapt.
Right.
They all just evolved to be giant. What would Mike want to be like a?
Cybernetic doctor from the future. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And mine is like a 1950s movie star.
which is just
So,
great.
yeah, yeah. So, and the idea is going to be that each one of us has been sort of snatched from the brink of death. And so I've been thinking about, this character a lot, and I have a particular, actress that I've always thought was amazing and awesome. And so what is her, what's her background like? Where did she grow up? How's that, adjusted her attitude about, other people, and about, is she heroic? And just spoiler alert, she is so not. Um, and so how is she going to deal with various situations? And then you kind of like, we talk a lot about archetypes, and um, do you start with an archetype first and then sort of layer on a personality? For me, I sort of start with the idea and the concept, and then I think about the archetype that will go with that, so that it mechanically works. Do you have a particular approach you take with regard to that,
So
or?
yeah, no, I think that's. I guess that's about the same way I do it. Yeah, usually I know what I want to play because I think of some cool thing that I plan on doing like one time, and
Uh-huh.
then I'm like, all right, I'll make my character to be able to do that, and, you
Yeah.
know. But that kind of gives you like the outline, and then yeah, you want to stack your personality. One thing I really like that they did with the new edition of Savage Worlds, and I think any game that has it built in is just that much better than Dungeons and Dragons, is the hindrances come first. So you already know like the flaws of your person, and it gets you thinking more of them like three dimensionally, I think.
Oh, when you're doing the character creation process?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so say you sit down and you're like, well, I'm not really going to think about it. I'm going to be, Joe Tough Guy who punches things in the face. But then Savage Worlds is like, okay, now what are your hindrances? And you start reading this list of all these things. So I think that's great. I love that
Yeah.
they switched up that order.
Yeah. I guess I have to, like, I know this is going to be like all the Savage Worlds people are going to hate me, but I actually don't follow like a mechanical step-by-step approach when I create a character. And maybe it's because, I have a decent sense of what the hindrances are, and I have a decent sense of what the attributes are. So, I come up with in my head sort of, well, like, this person's going to be really persuasive. This person's going to be, charming and not particularly strong. And so I begin to sort of just sort of shape the character in my head. Um, and then I actually start with, attributes, skills, and then I do hindrances and edges. And then I go back and revise accordingly. But that's my approach. But I'm always thinking about what the hindrance is. And the thing I love about Savage Worlds is that it has hindrances built in as a part of your character creation. And they're not necessarily negative qualities. They're just things about your person that get in the way of doing things. I don't know. Are there other games that have that kind of build in a mechanical aspect to your character that is a flaw, that is going to hold them back, that is going to mess them up?
Yeah, I mean, I know like Shadowrun, which is what I played most of, has actually a very similar system.
Hmm.
They're called edges and flaws, I
Hmm.
think. Actually, it works identically. I'll have to look and see who did it first.
Right, right, right,
But I don't think it got. It was in like a supplemental book, I think, so it didn't get a lot of
right.
attention. But yeah, it's a very similar. You pick and they can be mechanical or personality based, and you earn points, and then you can offset those points with either edges or spend them on like skills.
Right, right. Which
So
is what Savage Worlds does.
yeah, yeah, almost identical setup. So when I found it in Savage Worlds, I was like, wow, this is really cool
Right,
because a lot of other systems don't really include that.
right. They may have you be weak in a stat,
Yep.
but it's just a matter of, okay, you're picking, your strengths in terms of your stat, how you're spending your points, but
Mm.
you don't have necessarily like a character trait, like a quality that is something that mechanically impacts your character all the time, the way Savage Worlds does.
So I want to ask you, and I'm gonna
Yes,
try not to sneeze.
please do.
um, I know you don't have a lot of experience, but how do you feel about the systems where your character is like randomly generated through, like D&D is dice rolls, and if you do it like really old school, you roll down the line and then have to see like which character you qualify to play as, like based on prerequisites and
Yeah,
or even more advanced. I don't know if you know about like Traveler,
yeah.
where we're gonna have to even just play character creation.
Okay.
It's so cool. You start out and you pick a couple basic things about yourself,
Uh-huh.
and then you start your career path and you roll for it, and you have to like qualify into different jobs. And Traveler's a sci-fi game, like lots of worlds, and everyone lives out in these like space colonies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know very know I don't know very much about it, but I've
Uh-huh.
listened to some actual plays, and it's really interesting system. Well, the system's super basic. It's like a 2d6, I think, like
Okay.
PBTA, if I'm not mistaken. But so you start rolling, and every term you do is 4 years, but you earn like skills, and if you go like far enough in a career, when you muster out at the end, you can get like money and like ships and weapons and all kinds of stuff. So like the longer you work, the more your character develops, but it's all randomized. You're just
Right.
rolling on tables.
I
And
think I think the game player in me, the like mechanical rulesy person, would love that. The writer in me would hate it. I have to say I was invited to play in one D&D group, and in the wonderful world of RPGs, it died. But I did have the opportunity to go through the character creation process, and in that one we didn't do the random rolling. We did the whole you're
stat array.
yeah, the stat array,
Yep.
and that was okay. But I remember like watching it and reading about the whole like random roll thing and just getting like anxiety around the idea that that's how we were going to do it. And because I had a very specific idea about my character, I really wanted to play a bard. I wanted to play a halfling bard, and I wanted her to be sort of on the older side of middle aged, so I already had a really specific idea of this person, and I didn't want to end up with like massive strength and zero wisdom. Like that was not the person, that was not the character I wanted to play. And so I would find it, again, because I start with concept, because I start with this personality and this character that I want to play, that I would find it really, really hard to I would find it really, really hard and challenging, and maybe it's why I should do it, to play a character that's sort of randomly generated. I would be a lot more comfortable if it was a situation where I was able to set up the character and then random things change that person afterward. That I would be okay with. But I think, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do the random generation thing. I just don't know if I could.
uh, that's
I
so
might
good. I
I
love
might have
it.
to try it. I might have to try it.
Uh, yeah, I think we need to get our hands on a copy of Traveler. I think I actually have like old first edition. I'll have to look.
Yeah.
And just even just play like through the character generation. It can be pretty long because it's a lot of, like I said, like checking tables and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Then if I had to guess for a group, probably like an hour for like a 4-person group.
Yeah, to set up to
Yeah,
do it. I don't know. We have to put that on our wish list of things to do. Things
yeah, I know,
to
right?
drag our people into.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, I think I think that's an interesting thing, because I know that's sort of the old school way, and that was where I think role playing games, some role playing games really emphasize the game aspect. This is a game, and you are intended to be challenged, and you are intended to use your intelligence and your logic and your strategies to be able to adjust to the mechanics that you're given, right? And to be able to fold around that. And I think, I admire the players who have the experience and sort of mental acuity and facility to be able to be given the mechanics, the mechanical framework of a character, and then be able to wrap a persona and a character around it that they can then role play. Um, and I think that's awesome for the sort of high level players who can do that really well. I do think that that approach tends to favor players who are more mechanically oriented and less
Mm.
role play oriented.
No, definitely. And I think I just kind of had this little reflection while you were saying that. I wonder if that's where you get a lot of this idea that people who played those kinds of games like weren't as good at creating character like personalities, but in reality they're like trying to,
Yeah.
wrap their head around something that was already created and handed to them.
Hmm.
But I do think that also it's people who do prefer the mechanical side of gaming tend to play,
Yeah.
that side of the.
Yeah, and I guess like we've talked before a little bit. Like, there's a difference between the character you're going to play in a campaign and that you're going to be really attached to and be sort of living with for a while, unless you're playing and Bobby Evans is your GM and he's just going to kill you anyway. Um, but um, versus you're playing a one shot or a 2 or 3 session game, in which case maybe playing a pre-gen or just a basic archetype character is fine. I've uh, I again, the writer in me struggles with that, but um, because I love the character creation process.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I make pre-gens when I do one shots,
Hmm.
and I don't usually allow people to make a character. I mean, nobody's ever asked, but I
Right.
would probably say no. Um, but yeah, I don't really enjoy playing them as much.
Hmm.
I have, and that's another thing that Savage Worlds does pretty good. Is a lot of their pre-gens have like room to like now pick this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Or did they get rid of that in the new edition? Did the archetypes ever make it back in?
No, I don't think so. And remember, I
Hopefully.
mean, people have been cranking out their own archetypes, um, and most people who do, you know, basically fill out the basic attributes and, like, obviously have the core skills and then a handful of skills plus the edges plus the hindrances, and then they say, okay, here, customize your character by adding in 3 or 4 more skills, or maybe choose one more hindrance or something like that,
Yeah.
um, so you can kind of make it your own. um,
Well, I'm going to give everyone free archetype advice right now. Here's how I do it.
okay,
Everyone grab a pen and paper.
done.
So if I'm going to play something, I pick like the concept, burglar, driver, gunslinger, and then I'll pick whatever stat I think is most important, because that's, you're going to want that to be reflective. I'm going to probably try to pick one edge and hindrance. And I mean, some of the skills you obviously already know, so I'm not going to say, oh, pick them, but like, that there's a few that are going to be the most important thing.
Right.
And then after that, just kind of fiddle around with the rest of it and see, how inspired you feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally true. I mean, if you're the gunslinger, choose shooting. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Look at the linked attribute and pick that as your linked attribute
Yeah,
because, you know,
that's going to be your big one.
right. Which makes me think about power gaming. Isn't that power
Mhm.
gaming though? Shouldn't we not do
I don't know. I mean, let's define our topic here. What is power gaming to you?
that? It's so somebody who is just trying to exploit as much as they can uh, through mathematically over the game.
Right.
Making an overpowered character by manipulating what typically would be, loopholes in the rules
Hmm.
that really weren't meant to be like viable options.
Right. Right. I mean, there's definitely the overpowered characters where you're basically invincible. Like, somehow you've managed to sort of mathematically work it so that, and I think it happens when you know the system and you know the GM and you kind of know the direction the campaign is going to go, and so you're never going to have to use repair, or you're never going to have to use survival, so you never invest in any of those, like, skills that you'll probably never use, or it would be okay to fail in,
Right.
um, and then you just completely load up on the thing that makes it almost impossible for your character to die, and it makes it so easy for you to just kill almost everything. mean, that's the way I perceive the sort of overpowered character, and I can't
Yeah.
imagine that's fun to play.
Well, so I have a good story for you. I don't
Uh-huh.
think I ever told you this one either. So when I played Shadowrun, we had this kid. He hosted our game in his basement, but he was a really like weird guy. I've known him since like first grade. No, friends with him forever. We haven't. He went off to college, like moved, so we haven't been in touch.
Uh-huh.
But he made this character with like the custom weapon building rules and all the cybernetics rules, all balanced out perfectly. That he could just shoot somebody, and it would be the equivalent of like getting a raise in Savage Worlds, like a critical hit
Uh-huh.
for other people listening. Every time, like without even rolling. It only got
Right.
better from there.
Right.
Um, but he was really like arrogant and cocky about everything he did. So then the rest of the group decided to kill him. So we had some player-on-player violence, and I was the GM. And I was stuck between like a childhood friend I'd known like my whole life, then like newer friends that were totally right. He was being a
Uh-huh.
huge dick,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it was. But he killed them all because he had the overpowered weapon and he was better than them.
Oh yeah, see that would suck. I would not want to play with that character. I remember in the 50 Fathoms game that we were playing. I felt like my character was on the road to being a little overpowered in a way. Um, and the way that I had like planned out her advances, I mean, she was way more lethal than I ever imagined she was going to be able to be. And it was sort of accidental. Like it wasn't my intention when I started laying out the character because I wasn't intending for her to be like super super lethal. I was just intending for her to be sort of bad socially because she was like an immature character. So I didn't want her to have really good social skills. You remember she was the one who was like super optimistic and really like
Oh no,
friendly.
yeah, it was the best. Super bubbly all the
Yeah,
time.
super bubbly and positive all the time
It
and
was so good.
not very persuasive. And then I had that really great hook thing that
Yeah.
so it's like a two-fisted person with a hook that could then just completely make somebody vulnerable, essentially. And I would have to say, like, I was actually really enjoying playing this super bubbly, awesomely lethal character. Um, so I had to kind of adjust her mentality during, action fights so that I wasn't constantly just going for the kill,
Mm.
right? So that I wasn't just so I my idea was I'm gonna have her be this pretty agile, lethal character who then is really good at setting up the kill for somebody else. Like so, like I would do this thing where I would try and uh, set it up so that she would make the enemy, vulnerable, so that you or Mike or somebody else, you were the GM, so so that Bobby or somebody else could come in and take that person out. Where as opposed to just constantly thinking, this is how I could maximize being the person who kills as many characters as possible. But that was like a conscious thing that I was trying to do.
I think that's really awesome, like character, like development stuff that a lot of people probably wouldn't be in that state of mind to like hold back the reins. I mean, I think it's even easy to forget. We saw in our game last night to forget, like, you're a pacifist. You wouldn't rip this man apart.
Right,
Like,
right. And believe it was
um,
your wife that was about to just tear up some old person.
yeah, but and then you go, oh right, but in the heat, like you're being like assaulted. You're like, well, no, yeah, I'm gonna kill them, right? Like
Right.
someone's trying to kill you, but then yeah, you have to get back into your character's headspace and really try to remember their motivations more than or even from a gaming point of view, like, oh, well, I don't win. It's like, well, first of all, you never win. Like, we're always going to get you.
Right. That was last night was pretty hysterical in the sense that your character was just on the ground being wailed on by old people, old zombies,
Yeah.
like geriatric zombie hell. And my character, like I was literally like in her head, I'm like, she just got whooped by this old man, and I was literally like, all I have is a knife, and is my character really gonna gut this old dude? And she's not really like we're all playing like we all it's that whole metagaming thing that I struggle with, which is yes, we know as players, we know that they're zombies,
Hmm.
right? But does my character know that? Like, does my character really appreciate the fact that she just walked into a situation? She thought this was, going to be a bunch of old people. They all look like old people. They don't look like zombies, except for the milky eye thing, which could have been glaucoma. Um, and in seconds, she's got to make this decision. Like, is she really going to pull out her big hunting knife and just split this old dude open? And I honestly don't think that she would have.
Yeah, no,
You
I
know,
struggle with. I think that's why I get beat up so bad in these games. I mean, we've played a bunch of games together, and I'm always getting
you are
whooped.
you are always
So,
getting whooped.
but I think it's because I really try to stay in the headspace of my character. Like,
Right.
I went first in the initiative round, and like
Mhm.
they were at their front doors coming out, and the dude was there controlling them, and we all knew that.
Mhm.
But like my character, like maybe would have figured that out, but he's also like 18 years old, like.
Right.
So then I was like, all right, I'm going to use like a test to like distract him.
Right.
That's a good first round thing to do. But
Mhm.
like, I should have just like tried to kill him immediately
Mhm. Mhm.
because then maybe I wouldn't have died.
Well, you didn't technically die.
No, that's true.
You did.
No, I'll be fine. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
okay. I'm over it. But yeah, it's a tough line to walk with like the metagaming thing, and I think the people that cry out like, "Oh, it's metagaming," but like any combat-based game is going to be a lot of that.
Sure.
And not to get all hippy dippy, but I think games that like the really narrative games are the ones where you can get away from
Mhm.
having to do those things. I've been adventuring into Apocalypse World, and we played some
Right. Yeah.
Monster of the Week, but those are not combat driven to the point where if you do confront somebody, like they're not just gonna pull out a gun, knife, or a pack of zombies
Right.
and try to kill
Right.
you with it.
Right.
So I mean, I think that's really an awesome alternative for people that maybe like don't like that like break in character. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's
And I guess it gets back to, like, I think what you and I've talked about a lot, which is, what kind of game does everybody at the table want to play?
mm,
You know, does everybody at the table, and this is the thing, like I'm not like, I don't think it's a sin to metagame. I don't think it is a sin to be, a power gamer or to be a min max or whatever, as long as that at the table, that's the game everybody wants to play. Right. So with your buddy who developed the like invincible gun, like that wasn't the game everybody wanted to play. And so that person became, annoying. If you have somebody who is constantly just playing their character in a way that is constantly adjusting themselves to be the best mechanically, sort of maximum person, the sort of power gamer person, and that person and everybody else at the table wants to be telling a story and be role playing and really enjoy the flaws of their characters and the weaknesses, and you've got this one person who is constantly disrupting the flow of the narrative because, oh, I have to go to the library and research this spell, or I have to go um, I have to go to 15 stores in town so I can buy the 15 different ingredients to make this, weird science device that is going to make me, invincible. And I'm a second level player, or a fourth level player, and I want to be able to put together this thing that really would be perfect for somebody who's, a seasoned or a heroic or whatever your rankings are, 17th level player. And I think that's where it it sort of falls apart, is when you you're not all on the same page
yeah.
of what kinds of characters and what kind of character creation you're there for.
So I think you're absolutely right, but I want to remark on your example and say I would love a player to do that in my campaign because that is like an entire like plot arc of its own misery, trying to find all the ingredients and make the thing. But I absolutely agree. You see the players that like they're just looking at their skill list and picking like whatever's the highest one to use for every situation. You're
Right.
like, well, no, dude, you don't need to intimidate the shopkeeper. Just give him the money and get out.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
yeah, I
I
mean,
wasn't referring to a situation where they go on quests to find these
right.
things.
No, no, I know.
I'm thinking of a
Just
specific actual play that I was watching once where there's one player who literally, and it's a famous one, so everybody probably will remember this from a long time ago, but that one player was like the shopping episode, and the one player kept going like, and now I want to spend 2 weeks researching this, or learning this thing and buying this thing, and I swear to God, I thought the other players were just gonna pop him. I mean, it was just Okay, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
no,
So
I totally, yeah. Um,
if it becomes a quest and you as the GM are using it against them, more power to you.
yeah. I had a thought and then it went as far away from me as it could.
Yeah, well, that happens when you're, under the weather. So, shifting subjects then, probably a good segue. And I think because you're under the weather, we've sort of lost our theme of the, first round, second round, raise a glass. But
Mm,
I wanted to, in our first session, you mentioned a podcast that you were raising a glass to, which is called Plus One Forward,
yes.
which is dedicated to games that are sort of the Powered by the Apocalypse games. And so I have, of course, become addicted to that. So up yours, because who needs another podcast that they're listening to? But I've really enjoyed it. I think it's a really great podcast, and it just, to me, emphasizes what an amazing system or idea or concept the whole PBTA thing is. For those of you who don't know, they in Plus One Forward, they sort of the host usually has somebody on who's either created a hack or designed a PBTA game, and then they talk about it, and then they play a little bit of it, which is kind of cool. But just some of the ideas that people have are I just am in awe of that level of creativity. Um, so thank you very much for getting
Yeah.
addicted to yet another podcast. Are you listening to or watching anything else these
Uh,
days?
Not gaming related. I've taken a break and ventured into the true crime. Um,
Uh-oh.
yeah, so if anybody does care, I've been listening to the true crime, the Monster series. They have the Zodiac
Oh,
15 episode about the Zodiac killer.
oh,
And they have a previous season that was the Atlanta children murders of like the 70s or something. I don't know. I haven't listened to it, but it
is
sounds
this
really
the two?
depressing.
Is this the two women who talk about it?
No, I guess it's a male host, but it's mostly like a lot of clips.
Okay,
And
sort of investigative kind of thing.
yeah, it's really good.
Creepy.
Yeah, I got like sucked in. I was like, oh, I'll check it out. And then I just binged the whole thing at work. Um, so,
Well, we're actually excited because the second season of Secret City is on Netflix. And Secret City is an Australian show that is awesome. So go check that out. Season one is it's Australian. It's about an Australian journalist who gets trapped in this whole sort of political conspiracy crime thing. And it stars Anna Torv, who used to be on that show Fringe.
okay.
She's the blonde gal from that. So that's very good. RPG wise, the one thing that I wanted to raise a glass to or point out to folks that might be interested is there's a Kickstarter right now for, I guess it's a game called Critical Core. And it's basically an RPG system that is designed for, working with kids, and particularly kids with autism or kids who are on the spectrum. And it's this idea that you can use RPGs to teach certain skills, social skills and, thinking skills and things like that. And it looks super cool. I backed it. I think a lot of people have backed it, and seems very professionally done. So Critical Core looks like a really cool thing, and it just is one of the things about the community that I love is that folks are thinking beyond just sort of entertainment and how can we use. I know a lot of teachers that use RPGs in their classrooms, you know, comics in their classrooms, so pretty cool.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard of this until you brought it to my attention, but it looks awesome. And I've seen it on social media, but I hadn't investigated it. But I recognized the picture. When you go onto the Kickstarter, you'll see, if you're anywhere on any of the role-playing pages, it's probably come across your newsfeed. And it's already fully funded, so if it's something you want to get in on, there's no chance of it not
Yeah,
being made.
yeah,
It's getting made now, so anybody who might be into that and checking it out, check out the Kickstarter, and we will hopefully have it in the description of the show.
yeah.
I should get my show notes together.
Yeah.
Anybody who wanted to get the show notes for last time probably didn't. Drop a
No.
comment. Let me know what you need. I'll send you a link directly.
I was going to say, yeah. Well, it actually, I think that's a good point. I think there's so many things in our community that people are crowdfunding. There's like in Savage World, obviously there's been several big Kickstarters recently, Suede and all that. I think Wise Guys funded. Um,
I haven't checked. I'm sure it did though.
I think it did, but I think, is it done? I know Legions of
No.
I know Legions of Liberty. They just either wrapped up or they're about to do the fulfillment aspect of it. So congratulations to you guys. Well done. Um,
Uh, yeah. So Wise Guys is 18 days to go, and it's almost at 200%.
oh, that's awesome. Well, I will say this. I think I'm really looking forward to Wise Guys, and that's unusual for me because I cannot stand playing the bad guy. So I'm very much looking forward to playing that. I think Legions of Liberty, I just got the fulfillment email from them, so they got funded, which is awesome. So for those of you who are watching out there, if there is a Kickstarter uh, that you're passionate about and you think folks should pay attention to and throw their bucks towards, please put a link in the comment section and we'll check it out. And if it looks cool, we'll talk about it in our next show.
Yeah, definitely. I love to check out what other people are doing. Even if it's not settings, dice sets and, towers and, all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh, there was a cool one for some sort of minis, some pulp minis, because I love the pulp sort of genre. I gotta find that. That looked really cool. It was like, like tough guy kind of detective, all kinds of stuff. So that one looks pretty cool to me.
That's pretty awesome. I never use them, but I used to love them.
Well, I know. That is the hard part. I only have one in-person game, and we'll talk about this another time, sort of the minis and maps versus, theater of the mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I just like the idea of having the minis and the map. It's so cool. But then I like the whole theater of the mind thing too. So.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to spend some time because I was about to go off, but then we'll never get back from it.
Yeah, we never will. We never will. We'll have some discipline. We'll have some vlogging discipline right now.
Oh goodness, it's hard.
Yeah, right.
I would like to give a thank you to a couple of the patrons from the show.
Great.
Yeah, so I'd like to give a thank you to Randy and Martin. I'll be honest, I couldn't pronounce one of the last names, and I thought it would be unfair to only give one of them a last name. So, Randy and Martin, you guys know who you are, and thank you so much for supporting the network.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Yeah. And to everybody who, commented, we love the comments. And we certainly are super appreciative to the folks at GMs for Hire for sponsoring the show. And I know that that's something you're part of, and I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yep. Yeah, we did a pretty big kind of background flip on it, but yeah, Game Masters for Hire. It's just what it sounds like. It's GameMastersForHire.com, so that'll bring you right where you need to go. And yeah, you pay for a seat at a table. You don't have to worry about the prep and reliability because it's it's monitored and the GM's on there. They can't cancel games and run 45-minute sessions and things like that.
God, can you imagine?
I mean, I've heard horror stories about like cons that give away free stuff if you GM, and then say you have to run 4 games in order to get like this discounted rate or free something, and they'll do like 4 1 hour sessions.
Oh, that's horrid.
Oh yeah, nightmare.
That is shocking. That is shocking. Well, I just finished. I'm at the tail end of the beginning of comic convention season. So I just was at Emerald City in Seattle and C2E2 in Chicago, and I'm always over there in Artist Alley with my comic book, and I every now and then I think when I go by the gaming area, I always think, God, one of these days I'm gonna jump in and do a convention game. Not as a GM, but as a player. I just have not had the guts to do it, or the time. But it just seems I have to admit I'm a little bit intimidated by. I just always assume everybody's going to know the game better or be better at it. So.
See, I would go. I haven't been to a gaming con yet, which is horrible. I'll have to amend that one of these days. But I would want to play aside from games that like with the people that wrote them and like big like Savage Worlds, things like that,
So
I would
that's
only
what
want
I
to.
would be intimidated by that.
Yeah, but I would really want it. That would be really cool. But I would only want to play new games, things I don't know how to play.
Hmm.
Really kind of, and I think you're right. Some of the people there would be more experienced and probably even be a little put off by someone who has no idea. But I think as a good role player, you can fake it enough, as long as it's not too crunchy.
Maybe.
I, I remember I played a game with Bobby, fifth edition D and
Uh-huh.
D. I
Uh-huh.
only played it once or twice, and there's all kinds of like moves and special powers that like I played like the fighter or like something where I didn't have to worry about a lot of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Spell
and
slots or whatever.
yeah, but I still had so much stuff I couldn't keep track of. And
Uh-huh.
he's like, "Oh, you can do this thing and that thing, and like revive yourself once a day from the brink of death." And so I'm like, I don't understand. I don't know what I'm supposed to. Can I just stab it?
Stab it. Stab it. Must stab it. Well, I
Yeah.
played Scott Uhls is doing a lot of Call of Cthulhu at conventions this year. And so he did a playtest of his the one that he's going to be playing at, called it's Call of Cthulhu. It's the Shooting Party. So if you're going to a con and you want to try Call of Cthulhu, and Scott is there, I highly recommend him. He's a great guy, good GM, and so if you are planning on playing it, do not go to the video link below and check out the playtest that we did. But it was very fun, and it was the first time I'd done Call of Cthulhu, and so I had the feeling that I was kind of like at a con game because I was playing with a lot of other people I didn't know, and a system I didn't really know, and a pre-generated character, which was unusual for me, and it was pretty fun, and and it was I think we hit about I think it was about 3.5 4 hours, um, but that included but that's because this was kind of interesting. It ended up being like people who really enjoyed the role playing aspect of the game, and so we spent a lot of time just yammering away and checking things out and being very. I think we were also a super cautious group because none of us, it's like Call of Cthulhu, right? So you're just waiting for the thing to jump out at you, and so we were all just like, and now I'm going to wait for the other characters to catch up, and now we are all going to, as a group, enter this room, and then at some point, and this was actually another fun aspect of the game. Um, we all had our characters hiding in this one bedroom, and we needed another character to come in. It was an NPC to come in, and it's the sort of love interest of one of the other players, and it's set in sort of like Victorian times. And so we kept telling her, "Go get him, go tell him that you want him to come in," and we just like started busting up so hard because she was like really like focused and it was awesome. And she's like, "Really, you want me to go to this guy and tell him to come to my bedroom?" And we're like, yeah. And she's like, there's no way my character would ever do that. She's like, then we were just like playing out, well, what are the things you could say to get him into your bedroom? And it was hysterical because her character just would not have done it. And we made her do it anyway. Still get him. We need his sword. But it was really fun, and they were great people to play with, and Scott's a lovely guy and a good GM. So check it out. And if you're ever at a con, where he's running a game, I highly recommend it. He's a good dude.
Yeah, he's awesome. And if you're at a con where he's running any game, he'll be running Maximum Apocalypse too.
I know.
So check that out. That was fun. I only played it in like its like third version, um, like a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine what it looks like now.
Well, I played it. You can see it. I played it around Halloween, October. I played
Oh, okay, I thought it was
playtest.
Christmas, but yeah, I knew it was one of the holidays.
Yeah, it was definitely Halloween because it was scary as crap. I did not fare well, but that's also available somewhere on the YouTube. Watching watching Susan's character make some really poor decisions. Um, but that was another situation where the poor decision was completely consistent with my character's personality.
Yep.
It was
And that's
absolutely what she would have done, and she did it, and she paid for it, and that's hard.
yeah, that's important though.
Yeah, I
And
get
that's how we use role-playing games to teach people about decision making.
that. Yeah, right. Right. Yeah. Do not be selfless. Do not be.
Do
Do
not
not
help
be
anyone.
selfless. Do not be greedy. Take the good things for yourself. Oh, I have a friend who plays in my online game, and she there's a big part of her heart that's in her character, and so she is super protective of others. And so last night I had her. She was standing like this on top of this rock, and these like night gods are coming down and attacking her and these other people, and she's just standing there like the focal point of all their attention while everybody else sort of flees to safety. Um and I'm like, God, I just admire that, because that's kind of who she is as a person as well.
Hmm.
And I'm like, God, boy, wait until the big night god comes and just take her away, knock her right off that rock. But you know, she's playing her character, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all you can do, I guess.
Yeah. So let's see. Any last thoughts, last call before we wrap it up? I
Let's.
have no idea how long we've been talking either. There's something on
Um,
this thing.
yeah, I don't know. No, I don't think it says.
It doesn't.
But
That's bad.
yeah,
We can just keep going for days.
these things are bound to happen.
Yes.
Well, I remember the first time I recorded, it was like 2 hours or something obscene.
Well, you get
Yeah.
caught up in a thought.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I don't know. I was just looking over the list. The only other thing is recent projects. We talked a little bit about what I've been working on, but it's not super interesting. But maybe somebody will like it, or maybe somebody will have some really great advice for me, because that's probably what I need more than anything. So, Susan,
Yeah.
I've been working on the idea of a like Prohibition era gangster uh, PBTA hack.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I put it together, and it was clunky, but we played it a little bit,
Hmm.
and I think its heart was in the right place.
Yeah. No, I think it. I enjoyed playing it. I think I sent you my notes. Um, I think that number one, I think the PBTA hack is. I think it's both, because I have not tried it yet, although I'm thinking about one. I think that the system, the way it's set up, and I think probably because I've been listening to Plus One Forward a lot. Um, I think it seems like a very doable way to design a game. And so I think that just play. Number one, I think the concept that you have of the sort of prohibition era like gangster kind of thing, it
Hmm.
gives, and the way that you set it up, it can be all kinds of stories. Um, and all kinds of settings and places. Like, I was actually surprised that the kind of setting that we were doing was kind of cool. This sort of dealing with these moonshiners and whatnot, was really fun. Um, but you could put it in downtown Chicago. You could put it in Las Vegas. You know,
Yeah.
L.A. Actually, L.A. at the time would be really kind of a cool, you know, Chinatown kind of storyline.
Yeah. So one of the things that I started doing after we played is I told myself I needed to check out um, Apocalypse World, right? Because that's the thing is, right? Like I play like one PBTA game, and I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna write one. How hard could it be?
Right, right.
Um, but but no, I had read like a bunch of different books, and then I was like, well, let's see like the one.
Hmm.
So I picked it up and I tried to play a session. We made it through
And that,
character gen and a little bit of role playing before we had tech issues knock us
right,
down.
right. And that's
But
Apocalypse World.
yeah, so that was Apocalypse World itself, which is really cool, but way different than the other experience I had with Monster of the Week,
Hmm.
because of the way you're building a world and then just letting the characters live in it.
Wow.
And when I started thinking about that for my game, I thought like that's definitely the way to go.
Hmm.
So like one of the things with Apocalypse World is a lot of the characters end up with something that grounds them. Um, for example, one of the people is a hard holder. They're like in charge of an entire community during the apocalypse, like a
Hmm.
governor or a warlord, however they play it out.
Right.
But you could have somebody who is like the medic who has their own infirmary, stationed somewhere, like
Right.
permanent.
Right. Right.
So you're inhabiting this world with your people, and then you just kind of let their lives happen around them because you can't send them off on a mission. They have like followers and
Responsibilities.
yeah,
Yeah.
customers and whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool, and I'm going to be drawing some inspiration. Excuse me, when I get back to working on my little project to
Right.
instead of having it be like adventure driven, have it be like more of that world driven, which
Right.
is hard because it's a lot different than what I usually do and play. Um, but it was cool to see. It was really awesome to check that out.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to sort of keeping track of you as you develop your game. And that was actually one of the things I was going to ask you because you said that it's difficult to do sort of a apocalypse world one shot. I don't know if that's something, if that's because it's not an adventure based game versus like you want to fall into it for a while and really spend some time in a world that you create.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest driving force is you develop connections with the other people. So it's sort of the same way we did with Monster of the Week,
Right.
but they're more mechanically tied in. With Apocalypse World, they matter a little bit more.
Hmm.
Um, but that only takes you so far, right? So I mean, if you do character gen at the table, that could take. If everyone's kind of quick and on it, it could take I think a half an hour.
Hmm.
So say you're at like a con, which is like definitely a one shot, like no chance to pick it up again.
Right.
4 hour slot that gives you 3.5 to play, which is pretty good. But if your people spread out around this like map world, you might not even be having like scenes together.
Right.
Um, Now, obviously, for a one shot, you're gonna have to push them a little bit
Right.
more. But I think that's not to say where my problem was because I don't think it's a problem because we've kind of settled on doing more than one session for my one shot.
Right.
But I want to see how like that world plays out as much as they probably do.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of where the flaw comes in with the one shot. I got off on a ramble, but I think it's tough to really play like a world-based game in a
Hmm.
couple hours because
Right.
you haven't found all the weird stuff yet.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to playing it, so I'm gonna sneak in.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna
And
sneak
I
in.
got to see what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a little reset in case
Yeah.
the other player doesn't make it.
Well, and you only got like an hour into it, so there
Yeah.
just can be, a nearby neighbor or something like that who just wanders into town. I'm,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
already,
yeah.
I'm already creating my own character. I hope you don't mind.
No, you have to create everything in Apocalypse World.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just ask questions nonstop and then
I love that.
pretend to take notes.
Well, cool. Well, I wish you luck on developing, your own game. I'm going to see how that goes, and I haven't reached that level yet, but
No, me neither.
maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll get there. But cool.
Yeah.
See, I think that's it. Is that it?
I think that's
There's
it,
got to
right?
be something.
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Right.
Let me see. Well, yeah, I mean, if you like what we're doing,
Covered everything.
check us out. Subscribe.
Yep.
Share it with your friends. Um,
Comment.
Comment. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Please comment. Oh, you can email me directly at the Drunk
Gmail.
GM Podcast at Gmail.
Cool.
But if you comment on the video, there's no way that I got it wrong because you're at the video watching it. So just drop a comment down there.
Yeah. Yep. And again, if there are any Kickstarters you guys are really passionate about and you want us to give some love to, please let us know.